I have seen signs. The end of the world as we know it has begun. It might look terrifying on the surface, but inside every human being, a choice to be a catalyst of change. Earth is calling, sky is calling, science is calling, creation is calling. Wake up! Wake up now. Transform your heart into a compassion machine. Now is the time to yield to the call of growth, to the call of action. You are the change makers, sleepers of all ages. Wake up now. I wrote this poem many years ago to wake myself up. And I understood at an early age that nobody is going to change the world for me. I have to do it. And like you heard in the previous presentation, there are now so many different tools that have been enabling citizens to participate in co-creating their societies. And so I took on this challenge myself to try to figure out ways, how can I as an individual change my world, change my heart, and then change my society. I never ever saw myself as somebody going into the system. I'm a pragmatic anarchist. I was reading the philosophy of anarchism when I was a teenager, and I've always been really fascinated about the idea behind it, that each and every one of us have a responsibility in our societies. So somehow things, when you have a good juicy crisis like we had in Iceland, we had the fifth largest financial collapse in 2008. It woke up people in our society, and people realized that it was not only the financial system, it wasn't only the banksters that were the cause of the financial collapse. We felt that everything we had put our trust in our democracy had failed us, be it the media, the academia, the politicians, the financial regulatory systems, the systems, everything had failed. And so we had this beautiful time in the wake of the crisis that people wanted to do something. So we had all these different groups of people coming together, organizing not only protests, but also think tanks on what we wanted instead of this broken system. And as a result, the biggest idea emerged. And finally, in the times of crisis, which for me are my favorite times because it is the time for change as well, the idea of a crowdsourced new constitution was born. Many people had had the idea that we needed to change our temporary constitution, which we were given when we got independence 70 years ago. But finally, there was this idea born in Iceland that we, the people of Iceland, we were the system, and that we needed a new social agreement that would express who we are as community. And after the so-called revolution, which I prefer to call uprising because revolutions usually indicate some sort of evolutionary process of transformative changes, a new government was elected, the other one was put out, and the government went into this process of creating a new constitution by handing it over to a constitutional council that was elected. And they made this beautiful, beautiful new constitution that I'm so proud of being a part of. However, finally, when it got into the parliament, the parliament or the politicians sort of put it into coma. I had, by some freakish circumstances, created a political movement, and I accidentally got into parliament with this hit-and-run movement, where our main agenda was to get the constitution through. We promised to dissolve after the term if it didn't work, so I created another political movement because I had been working on another pet project, which I think is very important as well for the foundations of democracy, which is to create legislation for freedom of information, freedom of expression, freedom of speech, and to protect our digital persona against mass surveillance that fits within the 21st century, because we cannot execute direct democracy. We cannot execute any form of democracy if we do not have access to information so we can make informed decisions, and if we do not have privacy. So I felt that I had to carry on with this work because I managed to get it through the parliament, even if I was from the smallest party, a resolution tasking the government to make these laws. And what we did, which I think is something others can do as well, it is not a copyrighted idea. What we did, I worked with people from WikiLeaks and various other organizations before WikiLeaks was very known, to find out how we could have access to information and support and protect whistleblowers, so that we, the citizens, can be making informed decisions. So I created an Icelandic Pirate Party with others, and we were created in 2000. Well, we got in the Icelandic Parliament in 2013. We created 2012, and we nearly didn't make it. It was just a matter of few votes. So it is very important, if you want your ideas to be expressed, that you actually go through the trouble of showing up to vote. And if you don't like any of the alternatives, just create a political movement. You know, it doesn't have to be left and right or whatever. I often say to young people that complain that their issues are not on the agenda, why don't you create a political movement that is only focusing on the issues for young people? And so, since I'm just a poet, a web developer and a poet, and if I could create two political movements and get them inside the parliament, anybody can, seriously. So don't be afraid to just follow your heart and create a vision. And that's one of the things I've noticed that we so badly lack, is that we all know what's wrong, all of us. We can talk about it until, for a week, nonstop. But we don't really know what we want instead. Where do we want to be in 20 years? Where do we want to be in 10 years? Do we know? I don't hear anybody talking about that. And I don't have that vision, but collectively we have that vision. And that is what the new politics should be about, is that to engage people, to find the wisdom in the crowd. And the nice thing is that it actually is happening. We are at these transformative times where nothing that we or the generation before me is working. None of the systems that were created in the past are working today. And people are falling through the cracks, and we seem to be heading into a complete dystopia if we do not do something now. And so I encourage you, since we're having this amazingly important climate conference in Paris in December, I challenge each and one of you who want some sort of future to go and look for all the best laws about the environment, all the best laws about the sustainability of our future, and start creating a database. And then maybe we, the people, who indeed are the system, can give this set of the best possible laws for a sustainable future to the legislators in Paris. Because I, for one, am not ready to listen to promises or empty promises in a times of crisis. Just like we're witnessing now in Europe, there is a massive crisis with refugees fleeing from a war zone, and nobody is speaking with one voice. And so I challenge you to think about the future, discuss the future with one another. Who do you want to be in the future? And what is your dream society going to be? And share it with the people next to you. And another thing that I think is important, and that is when Iceland started this process of recognizing that something was very seriously wrong, for some weird reason, the people of Iceland decided to elect again the people that put us in that position. However, something really strange is happening right now. So my little 5% political movement in the parliament with 3 MPs, we have been scoring as the most popular party in Iceland for half a year. We're like scoring up to 36%, which is a little bit shocking to us, but because we don't really know why. But I think that the main reason is that people want real change. They don't want the classical left and right rivalries. They want to be able to be a part of the decisions, which we have made our main agenda. And we are sort of a Freedom of Information Act for the general public in the parliament. Many people say, why in the world would somebody that's an anarchist want to go inside the system? And I tell them, look, if I want to change the system, I have to understand how it works. And so I'm there, hacker in the parliament, trying to understand how the system works. And then the plan is to go inside the ministries to really understand all the different structures in it so that we can actually offer alternatives. Now I see that I'm finished with my time. I want to thank you for listening. I wish I could have seen your eyes. The light is too bright. And I'm looking forward to engage with you later after this session. Thank you very much for listening.
One more question? You have time for one more question?
Okay.
For you. Thanks a lot. When we listen to what you actually say and the sweep that you made with your politicians, I'm sure a lot of people would love to do this in France, but when we take the reference and the comparison between the two countries, they usually say, yeah, they can do it because it's Iceland, that it's a very small country. Do you think that the revolution you did is possible in a country like France?
Come on, it's France, the mother of the revolution. Of course you can.
Thanks a lot.